My name is Kuran. 25 years ago. It all happened 25 years ago. Delusioned by the false promises, Nords attacked us. They massacred everyone. My father, my mother, even my sisters were killed. I managed to slip away through sewers. I was scared. I was just 8 when my world was destroyed. But I didn't forget. I remember like it was just yesterday. The civil war is now raging throughout Skyrim. There will be no better opportunity for me to extort their debts. I can't get my family back, but at least I'll make sure they all drown in blood. My family shall be avenged. Hello everyone and welcome to QuicksaveTV. In this video tutorial I'm going to teach you how to play a Ravager class. Now a personal note, if there was or you've seen a video about a Ravager anywhere on the internet and whatever it is, I was not referring to any of the videos. This is my own version of the class. However I called it, it's my own opinion, it's my own decision. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it a barbarian, you can call it a berserker. I call it the Ravager because that's what I prefer. That does not necessarily mean that I'm going to tell you what the other person next to me told you. I'm going to tell you my opinion and my insight on the class. Now that we got rid of this, let's get straight to the class presentation. Now, what is the Ravager? Ravager is a lightly armored class which uses and relies on dual wielding to tear apart his enemies. For a ranged combat solution, he uses the Archery, which allows him to pick off the enemies from afar whenever it's not an opportunity to fight in close combat, such as giants, such as what's their names? These mammoths, and etc. Now, as a support magical skill, Ravager uses Restoration. Restoration allows him to restore his hit points and stamina whenever the opportunity during combat arises. Now, the straight out pluses of the Ravager is that it's highly mobile class because it uses light armor and can easily engage the enemies, quickly shortening the distance between him and the enemy and tearing the enemy to pieces, be that mages, be that bandits, be that trolls, be that anything. Now, it's a versatile survivalist in a way that it usually relies on whatever he can scrap out. So basically, although it's a warrior class, he also uses some archery and he also uses some restoration, so it's not necessarily tied to the warrior, and it's very crafty in the way it uses these skills. Now, also, it has an answer to all situations, although originally it's a very weak solution as such. Now, the minuses of the Ravager are he turns into a raging tower when tries to deal maximum DPS. Now, what it means is that whenever you try to dish out the maximum DPS of your class, you lose all of your mobility and you become an easy target. So it subsequently results in a second minus. It requires an experienced player in order to implement advanced strategies and tactics during combat. Now, what that means is that it's probably not the best class for you if you're a beginning player in Skyrim. Of course, if you're a hardcore bowler, you could try it, but it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do, and maybe not the strongest. Well, it's certainly strong enough in my opinion. Now, the skills I suggest you to use for this class will be one-handed weaponry, light armor, archery, restoration, enchanting, and smithing. So as you can see, we have a strict division between all the three. This class corresponds to equilibrium. You use 2 warrior skills, you use 2 magical skills, and you use 2 rogue skills. 2 thief skills, excuse me, rogue. Too much World of Warcraft. Now basically, based on my observations, during 14 hours of purposeful searching for enemies and destroying these enemies using different weapons and strategies and trying to evaluate the combat styles of the Ravager, I would suggest you to invest in one-handed about 18 points. So that basically means absolute majority of the points except for the weapon skills. You just take 2 of them, which ones you're gonna use, or even 1 if you want to use 1 weapon, and that would be that. If you use 1 weapon, it's just 15 points. So focus on one-handed, as it's gonna be your primary dishing out damage ability skill. So rely on one-handed and improve it as much as you can. Now, I would like to recommend you to invest in light armor, about 5 points, and I suggest you to go in the left wing tree in the light armor, meaning that you should totally get second wind, Windwalker, excuse me, a Windwalker, and because all of your attacks will be really heavy on stamina, you need the highest stamina regeneration you can get, and this perk will assist you in getting that. Now, in Archery, I suggest you to get 5 points plus, that's what I written, but again, you don't necessarily have to invest anything in Archery, as Archery is your momentarily solution. It's not something that you have to rely on a lot, but it's something you should have in case when it's absolutely impossible to engage the enemy in close combat, whether it would be a very strong spellcaster, whether it will be a dragon in the air, whatever it is, or even a giant, which is again really hard to engage as a Ravager. Whatever it will be, it's a good decision for you to have some ranged solution, such as Archery. Now, in Restoration, I recommend you to invest 5 points, and in Restoration, I suggest you to get Recovery, Regeneration, and Respite. Recovery will allow you to get higher magical regeneration, Regeneration will allow you to restore more hit points, and Respite will allow you to restore your stamina. What a sweet abilities, especially for the Ravager. You will be able to restore your health, your stamina, everything you need. Very, very strong skills. Perks, excuse me. Now, in Enchanting, I suggest, but I don't necessarily know what you're going to use in your playstyle. If you would like to have this small regeneration of weapon resources whenever you kill the enemies, you should probably get that. But again, this class has a lot of customizability. You can customize as much as you want. I would say go in Enchanting through the left tree. Basically go through weapon enchantments, and although it's going to be 1 perk more expensive, you will be able to enchant proper weapons. The middle tree does not necessarily correspond the best with the Ravager, because what you will need is better resistances on your armor. That's what you're gonna need. You don't need enchantments on skill, you don't need enchantments on health, magic, or stamina. That's not necessarily the most important enchantments. What's the most important are the enchantments on resistance, so that you can fight mages more easily. And then smithing. In smithing, I suggest you to go through the heavy path, because at the end you will have the best Daedric weaponry and the best light armor, dragon bone armor. Now, why would I suggest that? Technically, it would be better to go through the light armor, because you will have all this light armor as you level up and blah blah blahbish, but the thing is that although you will have this advantage in the beginning of the game and it's going to be easier for you to play, at the end of the game you will suddenly realize that you have wasted a lot of perk points in smithing, and now you have not the best weapon solution in the game. You just have the glass weapon. The glass weapon is shit compared to Daedric. It's 2 tiers behind, so there's absolutely no reason for you to go through it. And although it will be difficult in the beginning of the game, if you can overcome these challenges in the beginning, at the end of the game you will be an unbelievably powerful class with the best weapons in the game and the best armor in the game. Very, very baller. Now, so in total, in order to get the minimum of requirements for the Ravager, you will need to spend 43 perk points. It's quite acceptable. It's half of the all perk points that will be available for you in the game if you don't mod your game. So it understands there's a lot of customizability. Whatever else you want, you can get. Now, that would be it. So, okay, that's about the perks. Now, about skills and about fighting as such. Ravager It's very hard to fight as a Ravager if you have no prior experience in Skyrim. If you are kind of experienced warrior, you will be able to utilize these weapons very, very well, and they're very, very powerful compared to anything else. They out-damage anything there else in the game in fair close combat. So it's more powerful than two-handed, it's more powerful than one-handed, it's whatever it is, it's just more powerful than anything else that is in the game for close combat. But again, you have to remember who you apply it against. In the video you are watching right now, you should watch different examples of fighting different enemies. Now, you have to remember that against different enemies, different strategies must be applied. For example, when you fight against mages, you don't necessarily need to attack with both of your weapons. You can just tear them to pieces with one of the weapons, or with one power attack, or with the critical charge on the enemy, which will allow you to breach the gap very quickly, especially when you fight against mages in the beginning of the game, because in the beginning of the game you will have no resistances to rely on. These resistances will be crucial closer to the end of the game and during the whole game, as if you can get them, the earliest you can get them, you should get them. That's very important. But again, you have to remember, before you get these resistances, you have to be really careful when fighting mages, because mages will be your main concern. Whenever fighting giants, or generally creatures which you cannot engage in fair combat, such as mages, giants, mammoths, you should apply your bow. Now, this will allow you to practice your bow very well, and you should be really careful whenever you do that. So don't allow giants to hit you, because they will probably kill you. You don't have enough armor for that, so just be really, really careful. But whenever fighting fair enemies, such as bandits, such as trolls, such as whatever it is, you're gonna tear them to pieces, because your DPS will be much higher than theirs, and they will not be able to take your health down faster than you kill them. This is again demonstrated in the video. The majority of the footage taken in this video is on the Masters difficulty. The only not Masters fight was with the giants, but it was for the dramatizing effect. So basically, whatever you watch right now will work on your difficulty, because it works on Masters, it will work on your difficulty as well. Now, okay, that's the main points. About the weapons, a word about weapons. There are 6 possible combinations for the Ravager's weapons. I would like to make another video about that, because this video is getting too long already. But the main idea is that I do not suggest you to take 2 same weapons in both hands. Although it's cheaper perk-wise, it's not as effective and not as good as such. Although each of the weapon types, mace, axe and a sword, give very, very small bonuses. These small bonuses will matter, especially when you combine them. So with a sword you get a very minor chance to deal a critical attack, which will give you additional damage, which is very minor because it counts from the base damage of the weapon. So it's very minor, don't forget, but it's again very nice boost. And sword as such is the most mobile weapon. Axe will give you a bleeding effect, which is tied to the weapon quality, meaning whether it is daedric, whether it is iron, whether it is steel, and etc. And it's again fixed amount during the 5 or 7 seconds. I'd say 5, that's the way I see it. And it's again, although it's very small, it's a nice addition to your arsenal, which is nice to have. And the mace has the armor penetration, but it seems that most of the enemies in the game don't really have high armor, and the armor they have is very minuscule, so the result will not be like dramatic. It's not like fighting rat scorpions in Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 2. Oh my god, they were a pain in the ass. Now, the point is that it's very good to combine 2 different weapon types. I'm not going to go into more details into this right now. I'll try to make another video about this, specifically about dual wielding, because dual wielding as such is the most complex fighting style in the game. It's very hard to get into this. I'll try to explain it better. Now, for this tutorial, that would be it. I thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful for you. All this video, this footage was a result of 14 hours of purposeful searching for combat and fighting various enemies in order to test out the effectiveness of this build. Then, my experience in the game, current experience, totals in 220 hours in Skyrim, so I should have reasonable authority in the topic. Now, that does not mean that I cannot be mistaken, but just saying, right? So I should know something, right? Again, I encourage you to argue with me if you feel that you don't like something in the build. I'll try to argue my point in the conversation. Again, I'll be glad to hear your opinion about the topic. Leave it in comments. What do you think? Did you try this class? Was it effective? Do you feel that archery is not necessary? Would you like to see something else instead of it? And etc. Now again, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to support my work and get notified when new content becomes available. I thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day, stay tuned for more content, and bye bye.